Hello, all. Welcome back to the Everyday Leader. Uh, I was having a conversation the other day with my daughter, and she was actually telling me that she was trying to say something to her friend that was not entirely pleasant, and somehow it actually turned out to be a huge, massive argument of big proportions for her. And she was actually talking to me about that, and that brought me to the point where I was actually thinking about how is it that a lot of the times when we actually give feedback that it fails, and a lot of the times we don't even want to give feedback. As leaders, one of the biggest and the most difficult thing that we actually do is to give somebody feedback, and when we do give feedback it kind of fails. The reason behind that, I think, in my experience, is that a lot of the times when I used to give feedback, it became about the person rather than about the action or the situation or what is it that had happened at that moment in time. When you give somebody a feedback and it turns out personal, people tend to become very defensive. And when they become defensive, that is when all your efforts and your great intent goes out of the window. So you need help a lot of the times to be able to plan to give feedback. Writing it down is always a great idea, but following a format, following a method is always quite useful. One of the methods that I actually use is a very well-known method called the SBI-BI model. So what that basically means is a situation, behavior, impact, alternative behavior, and impact. Give you an example here. I was actually talking to a colleague, rather a staff member of mine, about when she would speak up in the team meeting. But what that would do is it felt like she was talking over people and undermining people. And people were not comfortable when she was in the meeting. When I sat down, I wrote down everything that I wanted to write, and the way that I delivered the feedback was that I went to the person, I took them on the side, and I told the person that, hey, I have some feedback for you. It is about a particular situation, and the situation is, and then I said that it is about in team meetings, I do see that you overtalk on a lot of people and you actually get quite overbearing sometimes and talk over people. And then I talk about the impact, which is I that actually makes them feel like they don't have a say in the team meeting, or that they do not have enough experience, or the fact that their words are not valuable. What that does to them is it actually makes them feel underconfident, that they cannot actually contribute, or they actually feel diminished in so many ways. What you could do instead is give them the chance to talk, and then when they have finished, instead of using but sentences, which is basically what you have said, but I think this is this. How about you use and sentences that, hey, this guy said this, and I also believe that this is the case. Now, what you're doing is instead of just cutting over, you're letting them speak for one, but you're also adding your experience to something else. The impact of this entire conversation was that that particular individual realized what they were doing, but they didn't even understand that they were doing it. And that caused them to start to build themselves up properly. And they started to also be cognizant of the fact that they have such an impact in the team. What I saw over a period of time was that this particular individual was letting people speak, but also adding to their values. And that worked beautifully. And this is just one of the examples that I've actually used. Uh, SBI-BI model actually works for me. There are multiple others. It doesn't have to be this model, But whenever you're giving constructive feedback or constructive criticism, use some sort of a model that makes you go from the individual to what the behavior is, so that you're not attacking, or doesn't feel like it's an attack on the person or the personality, but it is about that one thing or two things that they do. And that doesn't demean them, but they also will learn from it. I've had a lot of success in doing that. I hope you do too. Reach out if you have any other models that you actually find useful.